Hey everybody, I am Daniel, and today I want to talk about something a little personal to me. It's nothing serious, but it is something that I've been pondering for a good while, and that has to do with just modern day games, right? Are they good? Do they kind of have that same joy that they used to have, or am I just in nostalgia, right? So I want to go ahead and kind of touch on that and share my thoughts of what that's all about. Before we get started with that, though, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. It helps me a ton. Clicking that notification bell does ensure that my videos do, get in front of your face whenever I do upload. And liking the video helps other people see this video as well. YouTube enjoys the like button. I enjoy the like button, and other people will get to see this video if you help me out with that. I would also like to open the comments down below, and also my DMs on Twitter, they are always open. So if you have anything you want to comment or even question for me, you can do that judge free, and I will respond to that the second I get the notification. So yeah, do that. With all that out of the way, I kind of have been coming across this conundrum. I think I've recently started game collecting. I've recently started filling out my bookshelf, which you can't see. That is, I guess, right next to you if you were sitting in front of me. But with that being said, I've kind of, as I've gone through these games, I've been really thinking about, are games as good as they used to be, right? Because on one hand, it's very easy to say if a game is good or not. I mean, it is subjective, but ultimately speaking, there are some games that just are good. A game like Grand Theft Auto 5 is an overall good game. It's something that the franchise really needed at the time, and while it is a little played out now, you can't admit that the story of GTA 5, the overall atmosphere, the game mechanics, it is really, really good. But you can also say the same for a game like Spider-Man 2 from the PlayStation 2 or GameCube, that era. And, that was a really good game. That kind of did the same thing for me that GTA 3 did for a lot of gamers back in the day. And that was introduce you to this open world concept, introduce you to what a video game truly is. And for me, playing Spider-Man 2, allowing me to, explore New York as Spider-Man, going up and down buildings on the surface level streets, not being stuck to rooftops, right? It was mind-blowing to me as, a little kid growing up. So it's just, and we don't really get that anymore, I don't think. At least, obviously, I don't, because I feel like I'm all grown up now and I've kind of seen it all. And with that being said, I kind of feel like what this really boils down to. Now, I truck drive a few days a week. That is my day job, if you will, while I do this on the side, right? So I have some time while I'm driving to kind of think about what's going on and ponder these things. And I think I've came to the conclusion that the technical limitations that developers used to have when, creating games, that has kind of gone away. So they don't really have to use their imagination as much anymore to, really bring us those great titles. They don't really have to try as hard, I guess. So back in the day, it kind of seemed right, like there was one formula for games, and that was beat the high score, right? The game gets progressively harder and harder until until you die, and then your high score is recorded, and that was the video game. Challenging, simple, and it was kind of a relatively same. It was the same formula across a lot of arcade games, and then going into games during the NES era, going forward, we were able to incorporate stories and kind of more RPG elements, as I guess we would kind of know them today. But back then, that was kind of a huge undertaking, right? Playing a game like The Legend of Zelda with how crazy of a story that had, or playing a game like, Earthbound or something like that. Those games had stories, those games had things to explore, and it was, it was kind of cool, right? The different ways developers had to work around the limitations given to them to get their idea to you. And I think that's the main point here, is gaming is such a unique form of entertainment. It's unlike a book. It's unlike a movie where, when you watch a movie, when you read a book, assuming the book is written well, or the movie or TV show is written well, you can only experience that one way, right? It's whatever the author says, it's whatever the director says, and that is the way it's going to be shown to you or brought up to you. But when it comes to video games, back then that was the case. So they had to use different methods to not only, tell you the story, but show you what that means. But nowadays we have such great visual, abilities that they don't have to try as hard. You know what I mean? They don't have to try to impress you as much because they can just smack, nice picture on the screen. And I think that's kind of made for not necessarily bad games, this era, but games that aren't as ambitious. I think gaming as a whole has kind of gone, I wouldn't say downhill. It's definitely not anywhere near downhill, but I think it's peaked. I think of the 3D era of gaming. I think Grand Theft Auto 3, which was the big game for everybody, right? Bringing you out of that top-down or 2D perspective and really pushing the limits of what a game could be. Or for a lot of people, I guess it could have been, Mario 64, for example. Those titles kind of marked the era of, really, really good development skills, in the sense of you're not focusing anymore on unique ways to, what sets your 2D game apart from the rest. And I think that's why a lot of games nowadays, especially from PlayStation's side, they're all really the same. They all are, that you're looking over the shoulder of the character. You're running around in third person. You are, often walking during a lot of the scenes where, I've heard the games be touted as walking simulators, where a lot of the dialogue happens while you're just walking through the environments. And on one hand, I get it. It's meant to, kind of immerse you into the story, make you feel like it's not just a cutscene that you're kind of taking out, because there are games when the cutscene happens, it kind of, you put the controller down, you're like, okay, I get to watch this. I get to take a break, I guess. But then there's games like God of War, where there is not a single cutscene throughout the entire game. It's all one fluid thing. And that in itself, I think, is obviously, I think the closest to we have as a testament of unique development nowadays. Is now we have the technology, for sure, to kind of incorporate this game style that doesn't need to be a gameplay cutscene. We can kind of, smooth it out. And I think another good title that really brought a great example of this was Ratchet and Clank. I believe it's called Rift Apart. I'm not really into Ratchet and Clank, so ultimately I don't really keep up with them. But I know that was a great game. And while there's some debate around the way that was done, the way the loading times were hidden behind and stuff, going from one universe or whatever it was to the other, that kind of gameplay where you kind of have this continuous loop of new areas and new things happening. I hope that we see that more and more as games progress, especially since we have the faster speeds of the SSDs that are inside of these consoles. I think it's important that developers kind of start tapping into the different ways they can utilize that, because as of right now, as of the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years of gaming, games have kind of blended together and felt the same. Much like the way kind of all platformers did, or arcade games started to do near the end of their era back in the day. So I'm kind of interested to see what we get out of these new games, and I just kind of want to share my thoughts on, how I don't have the solution. I don't have the way to how to fix it. I just wanted to see if anyone else out there kind of felt the same way I do about games kind of feeling the same, or feeling like they don't have that ambition that they used to have. And I think it's not that the developers give up or they haven't tried or that gaming is dying or something. Far from it. I think it's just because we don't have those technical limitations anymore, right, of the hardware. They can kind of do whatever they want to do, and that kind of makes everyone do the same thing, ironically enough, right? When there's no challenge to get across, in that sense, in the hardware department, I think it becomes very easy to kind of just copy and paste what everyone else is doing in the industry. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of what I have to say about that. So if you have anything that you kind of want to share with that, maybe you have some insight, perhaps you are a game developer yourself, maybe you are looking into getting game development, have heard or learned things here and there, I'd love to hear that, and I'm sure anyone else who watches this video would love to hear it as well. With that being said, thank you for watching, and if you made it to the end of this video, please comment down below. Comment games are great, despite everything I just kind of said, I guess, in this video. And again, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. It helps me a ton. Like the video. It helps other people see this content. My DMs are open on Twitter. Link is in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.